Are you curious about financial literacy? Then take a look at Professor Anthony RIVIECCIO's new program on Parrot TV. It's called Financial Focus University. This is an excellent program to learn about questions related to your own finances post-COVID, and how you can manage your money, how you can work with your tax situation. And this is an excellent and informative discussion of financial literacy. With Professor Anthony RIVIECCIO, your financial problems will be solved at Parrot TV with Financial Focus University. Do you know that there is a publishing company that wants to make life easier for you as a writer? This publishing company is called World Inkers Printing and Publishing. We publish in all different languages, and we're looking for writers of all genres, all formats. We're looking for scholars, ghostwriters, playwrights, poets, short fiction, novelists, you name it. We're looking for anybody who is interested in writing and the craft of writing to be in touch with us. You can reach us at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. With World Inkers Printing and Publishing, you do not require a lot of money to publish with us. Contact us today at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. Become a winner with other authors at World Inkers Printing and Publishing. Give us a shot. We will surely convince you.
Keep watching The Politics every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Good day, and welcome to Financial Focus University. My name is Professor Anthony RIVIECCIO. I am the founder of a 25-year money management firm called the Financial Advisors Group, and I am the current CEO of RIVIECCIO Financial Advisors. I'm also an adjunct professor. I teach personal finance at both Herbert H. Lehman College here in New York in the Bronx, and also at a private university, Monroe College. Once again, we want to thank you to Financial Focus University, and we want to share with you what our university is and what it is not. Most people today, when they go to get their financial news, they go to CNBC or Bloomberg TV. And granted, I go there myself because they're very good at keeping you updated on the stock and bond news and markets of the day. And of course, being a former money manager, that's very important to me. And it should be very important to you. What it doesn't do, however, is that it doesn't interject personal finance in regards to your money, right? You really don't see too many topics about budgeting. You don't see too many topics about savings, investing, retirement planning, estate planning. We are hoping over time to create a show that will interject financial news of the week with personal financial information. Putting that together, we hope it will make both you and your financial wallet healthier. We're hoping this 30-minute show will compose of 4 segments. And of course, this being our first show, we're hoping over time our audience will help us to define what those segments are. But we think we've come up with 4 that you will find entertaining and, more importantly, informational and educational. The first one we call Bidenomics. Now, as you saw from our prior commercial, I am also co-host of a show called Parrot TV Politics, which comes on Friday at 12 o'clock, where I do a very small topic on Bidenomics, what has the government produced for the week as far as certain indicators. Well, in this segment, we're going to get a little bit more in depth. Our second segment is what I call the how-to segment. The how-to segment has to do with all of the personal finance information that I just mentioned a moment ago, right? How does one create a will? How does one clean up their credit report? How does one define, based on the amount they might have saved for their retirement, how long that money can last? Keeping in mind, we have to count the rate of inflation as well as your current tax rate. So over the course of time, that segment we hope will be solely dedicated to helping both you and your wallet. The third segment, which we're actually hoping to get audience participation in, is we've divided it into three areas that we might do once a week over time, or create a separate segment that we hope the audience can help us create. Some ideas that we're currently working on is a segment called Politics and Budget. So, for example, we here in New York, we of course, like with any state, have city and state agencies that we have to survive on. And of course, these city agencies sometimes claim they don't have money, or sometimes people might claim that money's going over here, money's going over there, and services are not being rendered. So that segment will be dedicated to what's going on, right? We might wind up getting a city government official. We might get an agency official. We might get a political official to tell us what's going on. The second segment we're thinking of putting in that area is something called Sports and Money. Well, you can talk about professional athletes. You can talk about college athletes. You can talk about high school athletes. Well, guess what? Here in New York City, we got all of them, right? And we like to know a lot more about their money status, their sports status, maybe a little bit about them individually, and whether these monies are also helping the community. So over time in that segment, we're looking at getting professional athletes as well as college and even high school athletes to come on the show and talk about their experience. Another segment we're thinking in that area is what we call in the classroom. Now, being an adjunct professor, and I've been a professor now for several years, I am very happy to say, knock on wood, over 90 to 95% of my students generally go forward to the next series of their curriculum structures. So I think some of my students who also are working both in government offices and in private offices should talk about their classroom experiences and, maybe teach me a thing or two as well as to you. I think of one now off the top of my head. When we talk about financial planning, as you heard me talk about them in modules a few moments ago, it all comes down to a class that we teach at Lehman College called Introduction to Financial Planning. And between you and I, that's just simple budgeting. But it does also break down the other modules in a very small capacity. And I really think instead of me boring you guys to death, maybe you'd like to have our students at Lehman College or Monroe College talk to you guys for a few minutes. Or as I said a few minutes ago, we're looking for audience participation. So, feel free to reach out to the editors of the New York Parrot. They can be reached at their email at editor@newyorkparrot.com. We are looking for any ideas as well as information as well as advice. And hold that email address, because as we go on in the show, we'll be talking about different types of audience participation, where, of course, we want you to email. So let's get right to our first segment. Our first segment we call Bidenomics. Now, I was on our political show earlier today where I talked about Bidenomics in a very, very small segment. Let me get more detail. The reason why we call it Bidenomics is just for this reason. Well, if you remember, 2 months ago, when Joe Biden talked about inflation, if you remember, or maybe you don't remember, because we didn't talk about inflation. We didn't talk about inflation for about 30 years, right? But now the last couple of months, inflation starts to boom. What did our president say in October? It was a blip. So, okay, we said it was a blip. Fine. Month of November comes. We got another blip. What did he say then? Oh, it's just a temporary experience. It will go away. These aren't my words now, guys. This is his words. Well, let's start now in January. Start looking at some one-year facts when we talk about inflation. In a moment, you're going to have a chart that's going to show you the numbers that I'm about ready to describe to you. Over the course of 1 year, our U.S. economy has grown 5.3%. That's a wonderful thing. Everybody should take credit for that. In 2018, our economy grew 2.5%. So when you hear our current government say how our economy is booming, they are absolutely right. It boomed from 2.25% to 5.3%. But as you can see with that chart, inflation is now, after 1985, starting to come up and come up very quickly. So in 2018, when the economy was growing at 2.25%, what was the rate of inflation? The rate of inflation was 2.1%. So that means that our economy was a little bit stronger than the rate of inflation, or in simple terms, stronger. And as I'm sure you can tell by that chart, our money was stronger for the last 20-something years, because that's a very simple determinatory way of figuring out whether my money is stronger or not. But if you look at that chart, and please go to the next chart, you will see that we're not talking about 2018, right? We're talking about 2020, 2021, 2022. And I said the economy boomed. It boomed from 2.5% to 5.3%. So what was inflation? Currently, ladies and gentlemen, our inflation rate is at 7.2%. You might have heard that on TV and the radio. What does that mean? Well, I just said the U.S. economy was at 5.3. So that means inflation is higher than our economy. Let me put it another simple layman way. Your money has just decreased by 26%. So that means you need 26 cents more with that dollar that you have in your pocket to get the same value of that dollar. So we all know that inflation has gone up in different ways, but we all have our different lifestyles, right? Myself, for example, I don't drive. So I don't have to worry about purchasing a car or any of the elements within a car. But you know, my co-host this morning, when we were talking about Bidenomics, he said to me, he said, oh, Anthony, you know, people aren't spending money. They can't afford to buy cars. Well, as you'll see shortly in the next chart, let's talk about how much these current price increases are to the consumer, right? In the next chart, you'll see that chart that when we talk about consumer goods, right? When we look at furniture, furniture is now 14% higher than it was before. If you look at tobacco, and yes, I'm a cigarette smoker, ladies and gentlemen, it costs me 9% more. Hopefully you know where to get them cheaper. Clothing on average is at 9% more. Cars, I hope my co-host Mr. Press is watching. Cars are now at 12%. But as you can see, that's not the real problem, right? Because how much is the gasoline? The gasoline is currently 45% higher. So if that hasn't given you a heart attack yet, maybe you want to go to the grocery store and go get some things to, you know, get your stomach settled. Well, be a little careful because the price of lettuce has gone up 25%. And don't try to eat hamburgers like I do because meat has also gone up 15%. And just so you know, ladies and gentlemen, the rich aren't getting off either because I forgot to include it in that chart, but oysters have gone up 86%. So ladies and gentlemen, Bidenomics tells me this week that our money is being devalued. What do we do? We'll talk about that next week. We'll see you in a moment.
Are you curious about financial literacy? Then take a look at Professor Anthony RIVIECCIO's new program on Parrot TV. It's called Financial Focus University. This is an excellent program to learn about questions related to your own finances post-COVID. It's how you can manage your money, how you can work with your tax situation. And this is an excellent and informative discussion of financial literacy. With Professor Anthony RIVIECCIO, your financial problems will be solved at Parrot TV with Financial Focus University. World Inker's monthly magazine is a fine source for your literary interests. It's an all-source magazine with poetry, prose, and essays and articles, as well as interviews. It's all full-color art and photography from a variety of voices and artists. You will find this magazine entertaining. This is an all-purpose readership, and we are looking for new voices. This sleek, full-color edition of World Inker's monthly magazine will be something pleasant for your eyes as well as for your mind. And we're looking for authors for one book promotion in the magazine. If you're a business, we want to promote your business. You may submit your book reviews, your academic or non-academic articles on the humanities and the arts, as well as your literary writing and creative output to publication.worldinkers@gmail.com. World Inker's monthly magazine does not spare any ink. Keep inking for World Inker's monthly magazine. Are you curious about financial literacy? Then do you know that there is a publishing company that wants to make life easier for you as a writer? This publishing company is called World Inker's Printing and Publishing. We publish in all different languages, and we're looking for writers of all genres, all formats. We're looking for scholars, ghostwriters, playwrights, poets, short fiction, novelists, you name it. We're looking for anybody who is interested in writing and the craft of writing to be in touch with us. You can reach us at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. With World Inker's Printing and Publishing, you do not require a lot of money to publish with us. Contact us today at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. Become a winner with other authors at World Inkers Printing and Publishing. Give us a shot. We will surely finish you.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you're still with us. I hope I didn't bore you to death. But I hope you liked our first segment. So now we're going to talk about our next segment, what we call our how-to segment. And this segment has to do with which one is more important to you when you talk about returns. Is tax planning more important to you, or is investment planning more important to you? And if you're not aware, ladies and gentlemen, I have clients that I sit down with all the time. Being a financial advisor, I might assist in managing their money. I might assist in doing their taxes or being their tax advisor. And I always go through an end of the year review. And let me share with you just very quickly some general review that I've had with my clients. I said with my clients, and I said to them, well, guys, you know, in the savings account that you have, you only made 1%. In the bond account that you have, maybe you made 5%. Maybe in your stock market account, please hold that screen there for a moment, you might have made 25%. But in your taxes, you made 40%. And they look at me and they go, well, how's that? Because we're under this misimpression that we have to see the money, right? You know, we have to actually feel it to know we have it. Well, guys, it's been there all the time. It's called your income tax refund. And what we have to understand, and this being the time of the year for it, is that we have to understand that we have to learn our tax deductions and our tax credit. And what that's all about in a nutshell is your lifestyle. Now, in future episodes, we're going to talk about that in detail. But if you're planning on getting your taxes done very soon, you should definitely have that discussion with your tax preparer or your tax advisor. To give you an example of what I'm talking about, and now you can go to that slide. If you had a $1,000 deduction, or let me say tax advantage situation, and we don't know whether that's a tax deduction or a tax credit. And you'll see the differences on the right and left-hand side. Well, if it's a tax credit or deduction, let me start with deduction first, right? Well, how tax deductions work are very simple. For every dollar that's claimable, you get what's called your tax equated bracket back. So most people here in New York, between their federal, city, state, Social Security, etc., are generally in the total combined bracket of 40%. So if you had a $1,000 deduction, you would have tax savings of $400. Now you would take that $400 and you would times it by your tax bracket again. Why would you do that? Because now let's get to the bottom line, right? Now you want to know what's in the refund, right? That's what you don't care about the tax savings. That sounds wonderful, but you don't see it in your pocket. You want to see what's in your pocket. And what will be in your pocket is $160. What kind of return is that from the initial expense of the $1,000? Well, you got $160 back in your refund. That's a 16% return. But it gets even better. Hold that slide. It gets even better. Let's say it's not a tax deduction. Let's say it's a tax credit, right? Well, a tax credit in IRS land is a dollar for dollar deduction. So if you have that same $1,000 situation, but it's defined by the IRS as a tax credit, well, then your tax savings is $1,000. What am I getting back in my refund? Well, I just said it's a 0% tax bracket, so you're getting back $1,000. So if you go to the next slide, as I said at the beginning of my lecture, in today's financial markets, generally speaking, today you can get 1% in your savings account or checking account at your local financial institution. Also at your financial institution, you can also get financial instruments. We know them as stock accounts, bond accounts. Now remember, with the savings, you get 1%, that's guaranteed, right? That's guaranteed by FDIC insurance. You can get what are called bond accounts. Bond accounts are IOUs from either the government or corporate America. They're currently paying at 5%. They're not guaranteed. There are little risks associated with it. Or you can actually go get stock index mutual fund accounts. Anyone that has money in their 401k plans, that might have money in their stock market vehicle in their 401k, I'm sure has seen it boom. It has boomed by 25%. But remember, that's not guaranteed either, right? Your savings account on a scale of 1 to 10 is guaranteed 10. That's guaranteed by the federal government. On a scale of 1 to 10, the bond market account is sort of like a 6, 7. With the stock market account, well, your risk level there on a scale of 1 to 10 is like a 2 or 3, right? One day it's 300, one day it's up to the moon, the next day it's coming down, right? Tax savings. Tax savings, you can make anywhere from 16% to 40% guaranteed. Who guarantees it? The IRS law. So we can look at investment planning and find a very good investment planner or a money manager and try to get as much as we can in the market. And again, as we saw in 2021 with the stock market, people in that market did very well, but they of course took a tremendous risk in doing that. Why take that risk when we can do guaranteed IRS proper tax planning? Please call your tax person, male or female, for some advice in that area. We'll be back in a moment.
Do you know that there is a publishing company that wants to make life easier for you as a writer? This publishing company is called World Inkers Printing and Publishing. We publish in all different languages, and we're looking for writers of all genres, all formats. We're looking for scholars, ghostwriters, playwrights, poets, short fiction, novelists, you name it. We're looking for anybody who is interested in writing and the craft of writing to be in touch with us. You can reach us at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. With World Inkers Printing and Publishing, you do not require a lot of money to publish with us. Contact us today at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. Become a winner with other authors at World Inkers Printing and Publishing. Give us a shot. We will surely finish you. World Inkers Monthly Magazine is a fine source for your literary interests. It's an all-source magazine with poetry, prose, and essays and articles, as well as interviews. It's all full-color art and photography from a variety of voices and artists. You will find this magazine entertaining. This is an all-purpose readership, and we are looking for new voices. This sleek, full-color edition of World Inkers Monthly Magazine will be something pleasant for your eyes as well as for your mind. And we're looking for authors for one book promotion in the magazine. If you're a business, we want to promote your business. You may submit your book reviews, your academic or non-academic articles on the humanities and the arts, as well as your literary writing and creative output to publication.worldinkers@gmail.com. World Inkers Monthly Magazine does not spare any ink. Keep inking for World Inkers Monthly Magazine.
Keep watching The Politics every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you found our first two segments very enlightening. These two segments coming up really have to do with you. We are looking for some audience participation because this show is to help you. Definitely not our producer, definitely not me, who's getting more gray hairs just working every day. So let me just talk about our third segment, which right now is actually going to be a very quick conversation. And I want to start off by giving you our email address again, editor@newyorkparrot.com. Because what we want to do with this part of the show is, as I said earlier in the introduction, we want to create segments that are things that you guys find most important. So I just threw out some examples earlier. You know, you saw I mentioned, for example, again, politics and budget, right? Now this is a New York-based show, but you know, as I tell my clients, I have clients that are in Jamaica, Queens. I have clients that are in the country of Jamaica. Right. So being an internet streaming show, right, I'm sure, you know, or I would hope over time, you know, will be covered by everyone. So, you know, reach out to us and tell us if you believe that should be a good topic. Maybe you have a problem you might want us to look into. Maybe you have a government official you would like on the show to talk about that particular topic. So again, we're thinking of, you know, something like politics and budgeting covering this part of the show. We're also thinking again, for example, what I called in the classroom, you know, where we can talk about personal financial topics, but not from my point of view, but from my students' point of view. Or maybe you have a student that would love to come on the show. We would love to meet them. And again, as I mentioned earlier, staying on that same topic, sports as, sports and money, right? And again, you can break that down in a variety of different ways, right? It's easy to talk about professional sports, right? I can go get a Met player or a New York Knicks player on this show. Or what I would actually prefer to do, and we love the audience to help, I'm sure many people probably know their college or high school sports team that maybe would like to talk about the show and how the school finances that team. And maybe there are some issues with that financing or marketing. And again, if there's anyone that is watching that believes that would be a good idea, we would love to hear from you. So please feel free to email us as we sort of create this segment of the show. We'll be back in a moment.
Listen to the people, listen to humanity, listen to the Parrot, Parrot TV, Parrot TV, Parrot TV, Parrot TV, Parrot TV, Parrot. Listen to the people, listen to humanity, listen to the Parrot, Parrot TV, Parrot TV, Parrot TV, Parrot TV, Parrot TV. Listen to the people, listen to humanity, listen to the Parrot.
Are you curious about financial literacy? Then take a look at Professor Anthony RIVIECCIO's new program on Parrot TV. It's called Financial Focus University. This is an excellent program to learn about questions related to your own finances post-COVID, and how you can manage your money, how you can work with your tax situation. And this is an excellent and informative discussion of financial literacy. With Professor Anthony RIVIECCIO, your financial problems will be solved at Parrot TV with Financial Focus University.
Welcome back, everyone. So let me give some of the audience an idea, right? Because we don't want to see my commercials all the time. So if you'd like to advertise on our show, we would love to have you. Again, reach out to our editor's department. You have the email. If anyone wants to reach me directly in regards to anything, feel free to give me a call as well. 347-575-5045. Now, let's finish our last segment by solving some problems. We call this segment Ask a Question, or better, Ask the Professor. And again, this is where audience participation comes into play. We want to solve your problems. The problem, of course, is that we don't know what those problems are. And if I could guess as to what they are, I wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be at the racetrack. So you have to tell us what they are. So what I did in starting this show was I ran into two people at one of the local colleges that I teach. And I asked them, I said, what are your financial problems? And they shared them with me. And I told them I wasn't going to give them the answer until they watched the show. So I hope these two young ladies are watching the show tonight. But more importantly, I hope these questions relate to you. And I will, in a moment, give the answers to these questions. Question one, we received, or I should say, I received a question from a lady named Harriet that lives in New Jersey. Harriet is very concerned about her credit report. And she said to me, Anthony, how does one go about cleaning their credit report? Because I've called some counseling agencies and they charge a couple of $100, depending on the situation. It could be a couple of thousand. And those numbers are accurate because I've checked them myself over the years. And between you and me, guys, that's a whole bunch of hogwash. This is how you clean up your credit report. Grab a pen. It's basically a three-step process, ladies and gentlemen. What's on your credit report are three things. Number one, whatever is true is true, is true, is true. There's no magic wand. There's no book. There's no $39.99 program to get rid of it. Whatever is true is true is true is true. Number two, whatever is false is false is false is false. Why? Because it's false. So that leads us to number three, and this is where most people get in the danger zone. Whatever is outdated needs to be updated. Why? Because the credit agencies don't know what's going on, right? They only know what's going on by what's reported to them. So if your credit card company is saying, hey, look, man, she owes $500. She's supposed to make a payment. She hasn't made a payment in 3 months. Put it down as not paying, not paying, or maybe she paid it 5 days late. Put it down. She put it down 5 days late. Well, they're not hearing from you. So you got to tell them if that's outdated information or not, or what we call inaccurate information. How does one do that? You do what we did before my hair turned gray. You grab a paper and pen, but of course in today's world, you can use Microsoft Word. And you just simply write, as per the Fair Credit Reporting Act of 2001. I will say it again. Whatever, the Fair Credit Reporting Act of 2001. What is that act? That's an act that allows you to write a letter and say that any outdated information is outdated. And because you claim it to be outdated by law, 30 days after the agency receives that report, they have to, by law, take those items off of your report. Now, again, I said outdated information. I didn't say, whatever is true is true is true, right? You owe somebody $5,000, you owe somebody $5,000, right? End of the story, right? But if there's outdated information there, that information needs to be updated. I always suggest to my clients, you want to check your credit report at least once a year, sometimes two. In our society today, our credit report probably gets checked more often than we want it to be. And when you get a copy of your credit report, you can see who's also checking on you as well. By law, you're allowed to receive one per year for free. After that, during that time, if you want another one, agencies are allowed to charge you what they would call a competitive rate. Those rates vary. It could be $25, $35, $40, but you're allowed by law, everyone is allowed to get their first one for free. So again, in summary, whatever is true is true. Whatever is false is false. Let me get back to number two. I apologize. Whatever is false, right? So on that same letter that you are cleaning up the outdated information, you're also going to put in that same letter, and this information is false. What do I mean by this information? There are a million examples I can give you, but I'll give you the most common one. The two most common ones are social security number and last name. So just as an example, right? Last name Rivera, right? Rivera is a very common last name. And what will happen, and I've seen it more often than not, is that one Rivera's information will go onto another, right? And you don't know that, right? You don't know that. Why? Because you're going to work every day, right? So we need to check our credit report for false information and outdated information. And by law, you can write a letter to the agency, and once they acknowledge receipt of it, they have 30 days to clean it up. So, Harriet, I hope I helped. So now we're going to talk about Chrissy. Chrissy lives in Manhattan. She also attends the local college that I teach. And she has a very unique problem. After she told me this problem, I almost started not to write it down because it's actually a very complex problem. But I'm going to share it with you because it might affect some of the audience. She said she's currently married, but she's separated. And she wants to know, can both parties, her and her husband, claim their child on their income tax? Now, that is a very complex answer. Short answer, is that if both parties agree, right? Notice how the question was framed, right? If both parties agree, the answer is yes. Very simply. You have to you have to ask for a spousal agreement form that you can get from the IRS or from your tax preparer. It has that section where both parties have to sign. And if they do sign, of course, you're not, not everyone's going to get the full deductible amount. But what the government will do, as per the letter, is split it in half. Now, in my humble opinion, and I've been doing taxes for over 30 years, that probably covers 10%, right? Of the other, of that problem, right? What's the other 90%? The other 90% is that parents are fighting, right? Parents are fighting, they're separated, they're going through bad times. All of a sudden, it's income tax season, and they both want to claim the child. And because they're not talking to each other, right, they're not telling each other, right? So what's going to happen? Well, what's going to happen eventually is that both files is going to get frozen, because once the government sees that that's happening, they will freeze both accounts, right? So what's the easiest thing to do? The easiest thing to do is two things. Number one, whoever is going to finally decide to claim that child, right, you want to do it not as a single person. You don't want to do it as a separated person. You want to do it as a head of household person, because the child allows you to declare yourself as head of household. I preferably suggest, but it doesn't happen all the time, that you do want to, as parents, talk about it first. That would be the proper and most prudent thing to do. What the IRS will do is accept the one who files first, right? Because in good faith, they don't know what's going on in your private life. They're just going to take whatever you file. But if that second person files, for that same child, whappo, both of you will be hearing from the IRS. So to answer the original question that Chrissy had, if both parents are comfortable with that, there's a very simple spousal agreement form that applies to many things that, maybe spouses, agree to when it comes to children, when it comes to certain dependents, when it comes to certain exemptions, certain tax credits, but they just don't want to be together anymore, right? Now, that's a longer-term tax problem, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about who can claim the child. If both parties agree, that's the best thing. Of course, that's what I hope for every time I sit down with people. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. I hope this program helped you just a little bit. Our hope is to educate you every Friday, 5 p.m. When you come into our university, be financially focused. And thank you for coming.